everyone, welcome to a new episode. Today I want to speak about what's been happening with BitMEX, US customers, the United States government, and the trend that I believe this is going to continue to see in the crypto space. So first of all, BitMEX, what is it? It is a cryptocurrency exchange, but is a little bit different than your average cryptocurrency exchange because they deal exclusively with derivatives products. Think of futures contracts, except that BitMEX's most popular and most used trading product is what they call their perpetual contract. Now, it's different than a futures contract in that there is no set time or date that the contract expires. It is a perpetual contract that goes on forever, and instead, based on your position, whether you are long or short Bitcoin, and based on the movements of the Bitcoin market, whether it goes positive or negative, up or down, you will either be paying a fee to the person on the other side of that trade, or you'll be receiving it from them. Now, it has been leaked that the CFTC has been conducting an investigation of BitMEX due to the rumors that it has been used by US customers. Now, BitMEX is not established in the United States. Instead, it has been founded in the Seychelles, which is an island off of the east coast of Africa. But the issue with the CFTC here is that there has been rumors that US customers or US citizens have been using BitMEX as a cryptocurrency exchange without BitMEX registering itself or trying to comply specifically with the United States regulations. Now, a really easy way that many people have been getting around these geolocation blocking techniques to try and protect themselves from regulations like this is people use VPNs, which essentially changes your IP address to make it look like you are accessing the internet from a different location than you actually are. It's really not that uncommon in this space. I'm sure it's been used by many US citizens and Chinese citizens also. You know, people whose government has been vocally against Bitcoin, which says something there. But regardless, even just this announcement of this investigation by the CFTC has affected BitMEX. Not so much the price of Bitcoin, but the amount of money going in and out of BitMEX. For example, thanks to a really helpful tool called Token Analyst, you saw that there was $73 million more leaving BitMEX than coming into it. That number is a very big one. So typically, like for example, Binance, another popular exchange, has seen an inflow of 35 million and an outflow of 36 million. So you can you can go through this list also on tokenanalyst.io and see different exchanges and, you know, based on the coins, what kind of movement they're seeing. It's a pretty cool website. Anyway, the reason why I think a lot of this money is leaving BitMEX is because those are US customers using VPNs, have been getting away with it. So the thing is, back in January of 2018, BitMEX announced that they would be cutting off service to or banning US customers. But again, thanks to that handy dandy VPN, a lot of people were getting away with it. But now that the CFTC has been investigating it, they don't know what they know. And so I'm sure a lot of people are scared because using a VPN, knowing as a US citizen that you are not really supposed to be accessing that exchange, you are ultimately violating the terms of service set by BitMEX. And because of that, they have every right to ban you from your account, take your funds, lock you out, and that's that. So I think we're seeing a lot of people take control of their funds while they still can. And they got scared from this investigation. So let's talk about this. That number, that $73 million is a lot. In addition to, there's probably more going on that this investigation might find out. I don't know what kind of tools that they have, what kind of analysts that the CFTC has to take a look at BitMEX, but there has been a lot of rumors about things like front running, monetizing their investment fund. I will leave a link to this particular article I'm showing you right now down below just so you can read. It's a lot of speculation, a lot of projection. Nothing is really proven in this article, but it is definitely things to consider for BitMEX. Anyway, so the reason why that amount of money was left out of BitMEX, I believe, is because a lot of people are from the US. So according to a poll by a popular news medium called The Block, it showed that over 20% of the users of cryptocurrency exchanges were from the United States. So because of the use of VPNs, like I just mentioned, I'm sure that this number of 20% of the users in cryptocurrency exchanges are from the United States. It's probably a little bit bigger than that, but it shows that the United States does bolster the majority of users in the crypto space. Following them by Japan at 10%, also Indonesia, India, and South Korea. Also, I'm sure China is huge on that, but because of their strict government, also VPNs are all happening there. So I'm definitely not trying to spread any FUD about, cryptocurrency exchanges or the user base or how the US government can or will affect the cryptocurrency space, because the fact is, just because the CFTC is investigating BitMEX, it doesn't mean that they'll shut it down or even give them a fine. Granted, if they did give them a fine, I'm sure that BitMEX would be able to afford it, but they might develop new practices to prevent people from accessing their site if they're using a VPN at all. This is definitely going to change how certain people can access cryptocurrency exchanges. And BitMEX isn't the only one. Binance very recently announced that they would be also banning US customers as of September. We've seen Poloniex and Bittrex banning US customers from accessing certain coins because they might be considered securities by the SEC. And now that we're seeing Libra garner so much attention from the US government, from the Treasury, from the US Congress, it's really interesting to see these governments who knew what Bitcoin was in the cryptocurrency space, but they weren't necessarily as threatened by it because it hasn't yet grown to scale. It is pretty small compared to other asset classes, but this concept of cryptocurrencies being applied to an already established network like Facebook with over 2 billion users. Take, for example, let's say half of those users are in the United States. Full disclosure, I don't know what percentage of users are in the US or not for Facebook, but let's say, for example, half of them, take $100 and put them into Libra. That is $100 billion effectively leaving the United States financial system and going into a cryptocurrency whose association that it controls it is based in Switzerland. So it's pretty easy to see how that quickly got their attention, and it's also kind of scary to see how uneducated these people are about Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure Congresswoman Maxine Waters called it Bitcom. So if there's a coin out there called Bitcom, it might be pumping, but just the fact that she doesn't even know really the name of it, and yet she is a part of an entity that can determine regulations about it. So I'm going to bring it all back to the commonalities that these cryptocurrency exchanges have, like BitMEX, like Binance, like Bittrex, and like Poloniex, and all the other centralized exchanges that potentially cater to or have US customers using them under a VPN. They're centralized. They can get pinched by the US government. They will get fined, possibly shut down, because they can't afford the fine. I don't know how the US is going to be addressing this. So I'm seeing this regulation chokehold happening in cryptocurrency space. And because the majority of those using cryptocurrency are in the US and probably China, I think it will get to a point where they will be seeking out the most decentralized option. Maybe not knowingly, but it will become quite apparent which exchanges are properly decentralized, and that will show in the fact that if they are subjected or these regulations can be enforced upon them. So I'm going to bring it all back to decentralized exchanges. And by the way, just because an exchange is non-custodial, although that's great, it doesn't afford the freedom that users will need to access this cryptocurrency space. To wrap this all up, we are seeing centralized exchanges having to succumb to regulations, seeing their user base shrink, seeing the money coming out of their exchanges. So come September, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Binance and how much money leaves that exchange, in the same way that we saw it happen very much immediately with BitMEX, and how this free market that is this cryptocurrency space respond to the growing demand for decentralized, truly decentralized exchanges. There aren't that many out there, but there will be a requirement based on the market demands for an exchange that is decentralized in a way that it will make it immune, or as immune as possible, to governmental control, regulation. And those that do meet that decentralized requirement will succeed. They will see more and more users. And as more attention is paid to these decentralized exchanges, I believe the user experience of these exchanges will improve. And as those masses start piling in on the decentralized exchanges, there comes liquidity. It will be very interesting to see how governmental intervention will affect this space by it will probably weed out a lot of scams, a lot of platforms with weak dev teams, and it will probably highlight those that have a strong sense of why decentralization is important, a strong sense of not wanting to have centralized control over an exchange, and how that can benefit this entire space. So it's pretty interesting to see this all unfold, and it will be even more interesting to see which exchanges exist in like the next, 3 to 5 years, maybe not even that long, and what the cryptocurrency exchange space looks like, if atomic swaps are the thing, who is facilitating that, who has been building these kinds of decentralized exchanges since the beginning, and how they can finally, provide the tools that people will actually be needing. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this, if you like this new format with new visuals, please leave a like, leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you again soon. Have a good one.